Welcome to the Unapologetically Unstoppable Women podcast, the show where ambition is celebrated, not silenced. Lori, Ann, and Angie are your hosts, and each week we dive into real, unfiltered conversations about women doing extraordinary things in their lives and in their businesses. Here we don't shrink to fit expectations or apologize for our success. We share stories that are inspiring, hilarious, and always authentic, because becoming unstoppable isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. So grab your coffee, get comfortable, and join our community of women who know that no is a complete sentence and there are no limits to what we can achieve together. Hey, listeners, how are we today? I have the pleasure of being here with Ann Hunter today. I'm Angie Giltner. We are missing Lori Piper, but we are the dynamic trio behind the Unapologetically Unstoppable Women podcast. And we're so glad that you have taken the time to spend with us today, because we have Ann and I were just talking before the show, and we have the most amazing topic. It's so fun. And I know that you're going to take away so many little nuggets, because we're going to be talking about neuroplasticity. And please don't ask me to spell that, because it's one of those words. But really, what it means is, there's that saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, you can. And so Ann and I are going to engage in a deep discussion on how we can retrain and rewire our brain to think differently, so that we can have a growth mindset. And actually, we can make all of the little things that need to happen in there come together in a beautiful way where it's lasting and permanent change. So if you think about plasticity, it's pliable, it's movable. You can stretch it, you can pull it, you can, make it into shapes. And our brains are like, think about them like silly putty, where you can kind of mold it and make it into whatever you want. And we're going to show you some examples of what that can look like. And just really excited to dive into this topic today. That was a really long introduction. Hi, Ann.
Good morning. No, I love the silly putty comparison. And I'm telling you, this topic, I must need it, because I have listened to several podcasts this week, and I think retraining your brain has come up 3 or 4 times in the stuff I've been listening to. And the silly putty, once you do the work to make it be what you want it to be, it stays that way. It doesn't go back. So you have the opportunity to question those beliefs and figure out, is the story I'm telling myself really the story? And once you do a little bit of that work, your brain stays that way and it believes you, because that you're telling it new stuff and it goes, hey, yay.
Yes, and I feel like, and this fits really nicely in with your program, rewriting your story with grace.
It does. 'Cause that program, exactly what it does is it takes every story we've been told, either by we've told ourselves, or we've been told by our parents, or everything we've been told as we grew up. We believe a lot of that stuff still as adults. And if we don't take the time to go, why do I still believe that? Because it doesn't make me feel good about myself. Like, if you have a friend that's constantly mean to you, you don't keep being friends with them. You kick them out of the group and you go find a new friend. Well, the stories we've been told that lead us to believe the things we believe are the same way. They're mean friends. And we need to get rid of those. So rewriting your story with grace is really fun, because we get to take the time to go, what are your dreams and aspirations? What are all the cool things you want to do? And what are some of the stories you've been told that are holding you back from that? And let's show you, let's write you a story that shows you the ending you want. And you get to hang it on your wall, and you get to, you get to display it and share it with friends. But it literally rewrites the story of your life based on what you want, not what you might have been told you could achieve. So thank you
Oh,
for bringing that up. I love talking about rewriting your story with Grace.
well, when this topic came up, that was actually one of the first things I thought of is just how powerful because yeah, we have the opportunity to rewrite any story that we have and we can give it the ending that we desire. And if you're not sure how to do that, definitely get with Anne because she is an expert at that and she can help. um, I hate to use the cliche flip the script, but you're really flipping the script, right? and,
We're rewriting the entire
yeah.
script. It's a super fun process. And then just to go into a little bit more detail on it, I not only take your stories, I take people like other people in your life that are close to you in different stages of your life and get their perspective too. So you may look at a situation one way, and I can get a story from two or three other people, and they have an entirely different perspective that you may or may not even know that they had. And it's like, oh, wait, that's actually kind of cool and helpful. So we get to combine all that stuff together. And there is nothing better than seeing the end result of that's the life I want to live. And so now I'm going to look at that and I'm going to do the things because I want that. I don't necessarily want what I have right now.
Oh, that is so and what a gift. What a gift to be able to give yourself of, being like, look, this is the narrative, and I think about like if you've ever been bullied or if you had someone that you looked up to as a child and maybe they told you a consistent story like, you're really not good at that, but it's whatever that is, but it's something you really enjoy doing. And, but you stop yourself from doing it because you've been consistently told, I'm not good at that. And it's like, is that the end of the story? Is that really true? Are you truly not good at it? And so, what if you are? There are lots of opportunities out there to get that neuroplasticity going where you can learn to be good at that, whatever that is for you. And don't just take those words as gospel. Does that make sense, Anne? Did I get that?
No, you nailed it. That makes absolute perfect sense. We are so willing to believe the bad stuff that we just kind of take it and run with it. I'll give you an example. I grew up thinking I was terrible at math.
Mm.
I got a biology degree. Guess what you get to do in college when you have a biology degree? Lots and lots and lots of math. And I started out in a remedial algebra class, was my very first college math class. And you know what? It was the best thing that ever happened because that remedial class that I probably should have been above helped show me I'm not bad at math. I just have to do every step every time, and I have to do it one way. Don't show me new math, tricky math, Chinese math. Like, don't, no, you'll lose me. Let me do it one way. Let me do it the same way every time, and let me do every single step.
Mm.
And my teacher in that class was awesome because I did every step. If I made a mistake, she could see exactly where I made the mistake. And even though I didn't end up with the right answer, she could understand my process. So
Mm.
I would end up with a higher grade because I didn't just do something that gave the wrong answer and she had no idea that I got there. But it's not, I didn't go to college till I was 30. I tried a couple of times and life happened and I kept having to drop out. So a 30-year-old in remedial math, I finally learned I'm not bad at math. I just have to do it a certain way. I had to tell every teacher because I took physics and organic chemistry and calculus. So I had to take all the hard classes.
Whoa.
I had to tell every single teacher it's going to take me longer to finish this test because I have to do every step. And they
Mm.
never, ever, ever believed me the first time. So I turned in a test that wasn't complete. And they're like, why didn't you finish it? I'm like, because I told you I have to do every step. And they could see, oh, yeah, she actually did every step every single time. I'm like, I didn't have enough time. So they would let me finish the test and my score would immediately shoot up. And then after that, because I went to a small women's college, after that, they believed me and they're like, okay, when the class is over, I would go to somebody's office and I would just finish my test. And
Yeah.
that's how I got through college. And I graduated with honors and passed all of those silly math classes. And it was amazing. And I finally, at 30 years old, went, I don't suck at this. I'm
Yes.
slow, but I don't suck at this. And I loved that.
Yes. And I love your process too, because you had to find the process what worked for you. And that's where that neuroplasticity comes in, from my perspective, is you found the process that works for you, did what worked best and how you understood it. And it gave your brain that opportunity, even though, as you said, it took you a little bit longer. But you know what? If it takes a little bit longer for that silly putty to get molded into the shape that you wanted it to get molded in, so what? It doesn't matter. Like, fast isn't always right, and I think so many times we forget that, we can learn new things, and sometimes it might take us just a little bit longer, but that's okay. There's nothing that says you have a time limit on your learning, right?
No, absolutely. I have become a lifelong learner, and I'm so glad because I still, at 55 years old, I challenge all sorts of things that I thought I believed. I'm like, well, that's silly. Why do I think that? And some of them I'm like, oh, yeah, no, I really do believe that. And man, if I believe it, it is like cement. Like, you are not going to change my mind. I believe it so much. But if I'm kind of on the fence about it, I'm like, okay, I want to hear a different perspective. I want to know if my way of thinking is right. But the biggest thing with that is telling other people. So you can change your own mind, but then tell somebody, like telling my teachers, I need extra time, and here's exactly why. I
Mm,
didn't, I wasn't whining. I wasn't asking for favors. I was like, here's why. And when I proved to them why I needed it and they could see the difference, they're like, okay, we're going to do that for you. Because I wasn't trying to slip one past the goalie. I
yeah,
legitimately needed the time and they believed me. So when you figure something out, tell people. If you change a belief that maybe your mom told you something your whole entire life, tell your brothers and sisters, tell your like, hey, I discovered this and I don't know what you guys think, but do, do you want to change your mind or do you still believe what mom told you? One, it's a fun conversation, and two, it might help somebody who's carrying some baggage they don't need to carry get rid of it.
absolutely. Have that open dialogue, and then that's where you also learn from others, just engaging in that conversation. And it's like, look, my perspective on this has shifted and changed. Then whenever you share it with someone, it might shift and change a little bit more based on that conversation. And then be like, you know what? Yes, I see your perspective on that too. And I could see how that fits well into my perspective. And so we're growing and evolving, and we're all a work in progress, for sure. And I love how you said about being a lifelong learner. When no one, and I mean to tell you, when I was growing up, no one would have ever said that I would have 4 college degrees, because um, I was more interested in having fun in school than I was with the learning. And I won't say that I barely graduated high school, but I kind of barely graduated high school. And it's not because I was unintelligent, it was because I was too busy having a really good time. Don't regret any of it because I had a blast. And then now it's funny when I talk to people who I haven't seen for a long time, and this literally just happened to me last week. And I was talking to a guy I went to high school with. We just hired, I'm on the school board, and we just hired his daughter. And he's like, I haven't seen you in such a long time, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, what are you up to? And I was telling him all the things. And I jokingly said, I said, who would have thought that I had 4 college degrees? And he said, no, you don't. I was like, no, really, I do. And he's like, prove it. I mean, not really prove, but he was like, There's no way. And because he knew me when I was in high school and, all the things. So it was a really funny conversation. But now, because I get to choose what I learn, I love learning instead of someone telling me what I have to learn, because when all those college degrees, the curriculum is what the curriculum is. And if you have to, I thank God I never had to take physics or organic, whatever it is that you took. Nope, I'm not sure that I could do those. But, I did take classes like learning about dinosaurs. It was super interesting, but I was like, what does this have to do with my degree? Nothing, but you have to be a well rounded student. But now I get to learn what I want to learn. And that's what makes it fun.
I love that. And I can picture you in high school. Purple hair, wild attitude, all of that. But the
Mhm.
degrees, knowing you now, I didn't know you then, but knowing you now, the degrees make sense too, because I know you and I do know how much you like to learn and not only learn, but share your knowledge with other people. You're so generous in what you give to other people that I love that about you.
Well, I appreciate that. I'll tell one quick little naughty story. So there was a group of us, and and it was, I mean, there was probably 30 of us. And one of the guys who was with us, his dad owned a construction company. And one of the guys who was with us had a Volkswagen Beetle. Now, mind you, this was in the late 80s. Okay. And so we put his Volkswagen Beetle on top of the band room.
Oh, geez.
And and my dad at the time he was captain of our sheriff's department, and he came out to investigate it because we lived in the district, and it was just around the corner from his house. And so normally he wouldn't do the investigating, but because of all the circumstances, and he did not know up until maybe like 10 years ago. He's like, because he never could solve it. And he was like, that was you? I said, well, not just me. And he's like, Angela, Joe. And I knew when he said that, I knew. I was like, oh, shoot, I'm getting in trouble. And I'm like 40 years old. you know? But I, I was a little naughty.
That's so funny. I was just talking to a teenager this week, and she was telling her mom some stuff that she's done that her mom didn't know. And I'm like, you're supposed to wait until you grow up and move out of the house to tell her all those stories. I remember sitting there telling my mom some of the stuff we did, and she was like, uh, I just don't even know what to say. Like she would just shake her head. She's like, I think you guys should quit telling me stories now. Because
Yes, yes.
I told her one. So when I was 15, I think, my mom remarried. And so we moved to a new school, new house, everything. And because my mom had six kids and my stepdad had three, we had to add space onto the house. So they were doing some construction work and whatever. Well, our dog Bandit, a border collie, he didn't like to come in the house. Well, he had to be chained outside because there were workmen out there. My window of my bedroom faced out the back into the backyard. So I watched this workman for, I don't know, a few days in a row. I don't know exactly the length of time, but more than once terrorize the dog. He would get just out of reach of Bandit's chain, like with a stick or something, and poke it in his face. So I went out there weighing all of 110 pounds. My arrogant attitude weighed more than I did. I walked out there and I took Bandit off his chain and I held him next to my side. And I said, if you do that one more time, I'm going to let this dog go and he will bite you. He didn't believe little 110-pound me. He got bitten.
Yes.
He left
You
it.
deserve
I
it.
chained the dog back up, went back in the house, all very proud of my smart aleck little self. It was years later I told my mom that story, and she was like, Anne, no, my name is Anne. That's it. Just Anne. So you can't say that and be in too much trouble. So I was young lady. So when I was in trouble, it's
Mm.
young lady. I was like, uh-oh, that young lady, we could have gotten sued. over
Mm.
that. I'm like, oh, sorry, mom.
Yeah,
I just wanted you to leave my dog alone. Like,
right. And shame on him. He deserved what he got for terrorizing a poor, defenseless,
yeah,
innocent
didn't
animal.
think about the downside. So that has been one of my silly putty changes is to think about the long-term consequences of my immediate problem I need to solve and ask myself, is it really worth solving? That
Yes,
one was. I mean, it totally was, and I would do it again today. My mom was not pleased though.
I love it. Oh, yeah, and
So
I'm
Kim,
sure.
I want to ask you something really quick. So going back to we change our minds as we get older and stuff like that. So every election season, you hear flip flopper, he flip flopped, and I always sit and ask myself, me and the TV have these amazing conversations because I'll hear that commercial. I'm like, why can't it be that they got more information, got older, matured,
Yes,
just had different information under their belt? Why does it have to be flip-flopping, which is a negative and
right,
it's a way to tear somebody down? Why can't it ever be that, oh, with new information, new experience, things like that, that person changed their mind for very good reason? I mean, maybe sometimes people flip-flop. I'm not going to say that doesn't happen, but why does that always have to be the go-to?
right. Yeah, and yes, exactly. And I think about that is I love how you framed that for sure. Is when we know better, we do better. And that comes with knowledge, that comes with experience, that comes from sometimes we've got to talk it out with someone who is an expert in all of those types of things. And yeah, I mean, that I love that. That's such a great analogy. And um changing your mind and growing and evolving, there's nothing wrong with that. And it's like, it's not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. And it's like, yeah, for a long time I believed this, but now that I have new information, perhaps um, if it was about a particular issue, going back to politics, I learned more about the issue. I dove into that issue and say, on the surface level, I thought this, but now that I dug deeper and learned more, you know, I my mind is shifting, and I think so many times we do make um like our assumptions or our perceptions are based on, kind of like the iceberg theory, just like this much of the information,
Yeah.
but underneath the iceberg is all this other stuff that we're missing out on. Well, where that neuroplasticity comes in is that growth mindset, and let's go deeper and let's go wider, because even an iceberg, the top is more narrow and thin, but you go underneath the surface, not only is it deep, but it's wide.
Hmm.
And so let's go figure out those types of things and not just take things at face value. Because I mean, for 28 years I never worked for the court system, but I worked in the court system, and all I did was investigations. I investigated all kinds of different things. And doing these investigations, whenever I would investigate someone or a situation, at surface value it's like I would start to form an opinion. But then once I gathered all the facts, almost 100% of the time my opinion changed, because I went deeper and wider and got more of the information. And I'm like, it is a good thing that I did not go with my first impression, because I would have been incorrect. And everything that I investigated had to do with the life of a child. And so my investigations mattered and made a massive impact on children and their lives. So I had to get it right, like, because I was impacting them and their lives forever. And I took that very, very seriously. And inevitably, I just had to keep getting curious and keep getting curious. And now, like, curiosity is one of my top 20 values. I am curious. It's like, I go to the doctor and the doctor says something and I'm like, tell me more about that, I want to learn. And they're like, Well, it's just that's your diagnosis. And it's like, no, I want to know. Like, how did I get it? Why did I get it? What does it come from? Is it hereditary? Like tell me the things, but they don't want to do that. They just, want to give you the surface level where I'm curious. I want to know if it's something I can prevent the next time, then I want to know that. How can I prevent this the next time or, whatever. And that curiosity piece is just huge.
And I love that you were acknowledging I impacted children's lives. Like I had to get it right. But I watch you even in your coaching style and the way you deal with me and I'm sure with other clients, that curiosity to help and to give and to be there for us. Like your coaching style, I've had a lot of coaches and sometimes I feel like I'm not coachable and I realize no, it's not that I'm not coachable, it's that they haven't impacted me. But your coaching style and again that generosity that you have is I can see that curiosity because not only do you go find the information, but then you immediately share it. So, and I'll tell you, my um, the biggest time I had to question a belief was when I was in my mid 40s and my older brother killed himself. I grew up in a church that, and I'm sure it's not specific to any one church, I think it's in a lot of them, that taught if you kill yourself, you automatically go to hell. I
Mhm.
didn't question it, didn't think about it, didn't. Well, in my mid 40s, I knew what my brother's life had been, and he had not been a productive citizen. Definitely took more than he gave. And when he died, it was sad, but spent some real time thinking about it. And I'm like, you know what? He was not a successful human. Getting him, and I don't want this to sound mean, but him not being on the earth anymore wasn't necessarily a bad thing. But I had to think about, do I think he's in hell? Because I never did. I'm like, God, God knows our hearts more than anybody. From the
Yep.
surface, if you were to look at him, you would have judged him straight out of the gate and not given him a second thought, chance, anything. But I'm like, I don't think that's the case. And I really had to figure out why I believed that he would be in hell. And I realized I didn't.
Uh,
That he somehow, somewhere, he has a chance. And I've had this conversation with people that, people have a lot of, that's a strong topic. And people have a lot of thoughts when you start talking about somebody taking their own life. But that is one that is so cemented. You are never going to get me to change my mind because I went through the effort to question it. And you know what? I have read the Bible a lot. It doesn't say that anywhere in the Bible. It
right.
is not biblical teaching that somebody goes to hell if they commit suicide. That's something that somebody, some person on earth decided, started teaching it, and it became popular, popular understanding. But it's not there, it's not in the Bible anywhere. And that makes me feel really, really good about how I changed my mind because I have evidence or lack of evidence, depending on how you want to look at it, that
Sure.
God never said that.
Right.
So I think about my brother now, and I have way softer thoughts about him now than I used to. And I'm really glad I took that time to question that
Mhm.
because thinking he was in hell made me feel terrible. I'm
For
like, I
sure.
don't want to have a belief that makes me feel terrible. I need to figure out why. And it was time well spent. I'm super glad I challenged that belief, and I'm super glad that you took the time to change kids' lives.
Yeah, I tried really hard. And I try to do the same with all of my coaching clients. It's like I take my role very seriously and I have to get it right for them, and because I'm on a mission. I just want every woman in business to succeed. And it's their definition of success, not mine, not society's, not anybody else's. It's whatever their definition of success is. And yeah, I just take that very, very seriously. And I always feel honored, and it's always a privilege to get to work with amazing women like you and all the other women out there that I have the privilege of working with. And well, thank you for saying that. That's very, very, very kind. And I think, kind of going on that, another big one that so many people get stuck on is, money is the root of all evil. Well, once, like you said, nowhere in the Bible does it say money is the root of all evil. What the Bible says is the love of money is the root of all evil. Money is not the root of all evil. It's the love of money. It's when you idolize it. It's when that's all that you focus on, when you put money above your faith, your family, your values, and, that's the part that, and so there's all of these cliches and sayings out there that we've been taught since we were little, that are often, say, well, that's biblical, that's biblical, and it's like, mm, there's pieces and parts of it that are biblical, but so that's where you got to go deeper and wider, right? You got to dive into the source and look at all the things, and yeah, I mean, so there, I'll never forget this. I was in high school, and I think I was probably a senior. I was 17 years old, and I came home from school, and this is when Oprah was on, like, this was the heyday of Oprah. So this would have been in, like, 1988, 1989, around that time frame. And I was watching Oprah, and she was interviewing, and I'm not going to name the company, but she was interviewing the CEO, who was a woman of this cosmetic company. And if she was under this company was under great scrutiny because they were accused of using aborted fetuses and different things from that to put into their products to make them, absorb more into your skin and have more, I don't know, like, I don't know the science behind it, but anyhow. And so Oprah called her out on it. And not only did this woman say, but then she also started talking about her faith and how she was into Satanism. And I have tried to find that episode time and time again. They have erased it from existence. I'm
Oh,
sure
wow.
I'm sure someone with more tech knowledge and experience than me. It's because, whenever you hit delete, there's no trash can in the sky that that it goes to. It's out there somewhere. I just can't find it. But they've really tried to wipe it from existence. And I have boycotted that company ever since. I mean, truly ever since. And because if I hadn't heard it for myself, and now I mean, hello, this I was 35 years ago. Could things have changed? But I'm just not willing to take the chance. And so I continue to boycott that company. I'm not public about it. I don't, but because of that experience, that has molded in my mind that is what that company stands for. And the fact that they allowed it to happen once, what makes them, not do it again.
Yeah.
And I have yet to see any PR that has come out and kind of tried to undo what was done. And I couldn't believe it. I remember, it's so vivid in my mind. At 17 years old, I was like, I can't believe that this is happening. Like, because I'm confident. Of course, I don't know this. Oprah didn't tell me whenever last time her and I talked. um, but I'm sure she was shocked and did not expect that was what was going to come out of the interview. And so it was just really, really interesting. And I think about how that experience continues to shape my mind today. And it's all these years later, but it's something that's so vivid. But I think it was because it shocked me so much, it made it very memorable.
No, that totally makes sense. And I tend to think Oprah probably did know she was going to say that because the shockingness of it probably propelled that episode. I mean, again, I don't know. I don't.
Yeah, I don't know either,
Oprah
but
quit calling me back. I don't know why. I'm pretty cool, but I would think the shock and awe of it because that's People know better, especially at a CEO level. So one of the so two thoughts. One, you believe in that about that company. It doesn't hurt anybody. You don't tell the company name. You just don't use their products.
Right.
So at the end of the day, we have some beliefs like that. I mean, I certainly have, and it's more a bias. I have my favorite stuff just because it's my favorite stuff, and but it's, I'm not actively hurting anybody. It's not a challenge that has to be changed. The other one I keep thinking of, because it drives me crazy in my business too, fake it until you make it. If you are telling yourself you are faking it until you're making it, you have just laid a wonderful neural pathway in your brain
Mm.
that you believe you're faking it.
Yeah.
So I kind of switched it in my own business, and I'm like, make it until you make it.
Oh, I love that.
So I'm not faking anything. Every day I get up and I do what I do, and some days are better than others, but I'm not faking it. It's just if I'm not disciplined and if I don't do things the way I'm supposed to, my business takes a hit for it. And it very evident in my checking account and how things get done. I'm not faking anything. I'm just not doing the stuff I'm supposed to do. So some days I make it better than I make it other days, but I'm still, all of it helps me make it to where I want to be at some point. So that's my little tidbit on that because that's one of my super big pet peeves. Fake it until you make it.
Oh,
Do
great.
not tell yourself that. You're not faking it. You're
Hmm.
trying.
Yes. And it goes against your authenticity too, right? Like if you're faking it, it's like, oh, let me put this mask on. Oh, I'm in another situation. Now this mask has to go on, and now I'm having a conversation with this person. So now I got to find the other mask to go on. That's faking it. Some days, I mean, I would encourage all of us, to show up as our authentic selves always. Some days we're tired. Some days we just don't feel it. Some days we're so full of energy we could explode, and kind of everything in between. But just honor that space that you're in and say, I like going off of what you're saying. I like I am statements. And it's like, yes, today I am not feeling it. I'm going to keep showing up, and like whatever I need, the I ams. And it's amazing how I can turn, like yesterday, I had an appointment that I really didn't want to go to. I was like, I don't, if they canceled, I would be really happy. I
Sorry,
mean, that,
mom.
I mean, that's real business, right? Like, it's like, oh, and, but they showed up, but it was like, I am going to show up 100% for this person today. I am going to engage them as if I would engage any other time when I was full of energy. And so I just kept saying I am statements, ended up having a great call. And matter of fact, it even, because I had the time, it went 10 minutes over, which I never do. Anybody who knows me knows I put strict boundaries around my time. It even ended up going 10 minutes over. And then at the end, I said, I am grateful. I am grateful that I took that call. I am grateful that that person did not cancel or reschedule. I am grateful that I showed up. And so those I am statements go a long way. And it changed everything. It changed my attitude. It changed my whole experience because, if you think it's going to suck, then it's going to suck, right? Like think about any time you're dreading, you're going to a party, oh, this party's going to suck. Well, if that's the mindset you go in with it with, then you know what, the party's going to suck. And if you think, oh, I'm going to have a great time at this party, then guess what, you're going to have a great time at this party. you know
What was the quote we were talking about before the show?
it's like if you and I didn't know who had quoted it, but you said to Henry Ford, and it was like, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Yeah.
Something to that effect. And it's like, so both statements can be true at the same time. And it's like, so you have to choose, you have to choose. Is this that I truly can't do it? Or is it no, I can do this. I need a little more time. I need a little more knowledge. I need a little more assistance. I need someone to come alongside of me to support me, whatever? Or is it the line in the sand of, nope, can't do it?
And is it, so I feel like there's three buckets. There's can't, don't know how, and don't want to. And if you truly can't, you can't. Like it is what it is.
Right.
I cannot be a 200-pound fit male. I just can't. That it's never gonna.
Right.
I couldn't think of a better example. Sorry,
That's
that's what came
beautiful. No, it's great.
in my brain, out my mouth. So I literally cannot be that. But if there's something I don't know how to do, but it's something I want to do, I'm going to figure it out. And if I just don't want to, then I'm going to be super honest and go, I just don't want to. Phoebe from Friends is like one of my favorite things. I still binge watch it every now and then because it's just so mindless and funny. But Phoebe had a comment on there. Somebody asked her to do something, and she said, yeah, I've given it a lot of thought and I just don't want to. I'm like, that is the best thing ever. It's
Yes.
honest. It's maybe she probably didn't give it a lot of thought, but I like that. So if you just don't want to, then don't. But be honest, I don't want to. And if
Yeah.
you can't, there's probably very few things that should fall into the I can't bucket. And if you don't know how, figure it out, ask for help,
Yes.
challenge those beliefs, talk about it. Like I would think, and I don't know, the majority, 90% of what we do falls into the I don't know how.
Right.
So, and then so I like that you brought that up that whether you can or you can't, they're both true. It's the story you tell yourself, and that story is a choice.
Yep. And do you think a lot of times people will, if they don't know how, they just flip it to an I can't? Do you
Mhm.
think that's common? I think so too.
I do because I think it's an easy, well, it's it may cover I don't want to, and so I can't is just I don't want to. But they're not being honest with themselves.
Yeah.
So it goes into one of the other, and then it becomes back to the word you just used, an authenticity issue. Because if
Yeah.
you're authentic, you're gonna just say, I just don't want to. And
Yep.
there's, have you read Atomic Habits? I feel like we've talked about
Oh,
this. You have.
I have it and I have the workbook, and yes, I love it.
So one of the things he says in there is if you're trying to retrain your brain by developing a new habit, he says, call out that habit. So you're walking into a room and you're just in the habit of leaving your clothes on the floor and just not picking up, but then you're annoyed that the house is a mess. He's like, call it out. I am choosing to step over this sweatshirt that's been on the floor for 3 days and just own it.
Yes.
And that by doing that, the habits you want to change, you're like, oh, that's so stupid. Why am I stepping over this? Because you called it out and you're now recognizing it. You're either going to do something about it or you're not, but you're going to own that choice. And
Yes.
I think out of from that book, like that's still my favorite part.
Oh, it's yes. And that's something that I mean, I use that a lot. So I'm going to share this. I'm going to have a vulnerable moment here. I haven't really talked about this, but I've been diagnosed with a binge eating disorder. And at first, I did not believe that I had it. And whenever I was given the diagnosis, I was like, no, that's not what I have. That's not what I have. But once I dug into it and really I went deeper and wider and researched it, it really truly is what I have. And so with that, it's actually, and a lot of people don't know this, but binge eating is actually on the OCD spectrum. And so it's a form of obsessive compulsive disorder. Mine just happens to be around food, where other people's can be on with lots of other things. And so I know where it comes from. It comes from childhood trauma and all of the things. And me attempting to control things in my life whenever my life was so out of control that that was the one thing that I had control over. So I've unpacked all that. I'm fully aware of it. But the thoughts that come into my head, and if you talk with anyone who has any form of OCD, it's the intruding thoughts that come in. And so I think about that all the time. And it's like, okay, right at this moment, I have a choice. I can choose to buy into my compulsion, or I can choose differently, and I have, and I'm, some days I'm better at it than others, but it's, I'm really trying to retrain my brain and get that neuroplasticity rocking and rolling, because it's been ingrained in my life. I mean, the trauma happened it started when I was 8. Um, and it went all the way through, well, even adulthood, until I set really healthy boundaries with the person who was abusing me at 36. And so, and it was all mental and emotional abuse. But it was pretty terrible. I mean, I could tell you stories for days. But so now, here I am at 50 plus 3, trying to get that neuroplasticity back. And it's like, I'm changing the narrative around this. And and I'm in a way taking my, well, not in a way, I am taking my power back and saying my thoughts no longer control me, I control them. And just reframing them, and just ever so slightly, it's not making a massive shift. Instead of my thoughts control me, no, I control my thoughts. And just making those little kinds of shifts can make a huge, huge difference. And so my point of telling that story is, you don't have to go out and rewrite the encyclopedia, or read the entire encyclopedia, you know, um, just making small little adjustments can make the biggest impact.
So I want to ask you something about that because this is the first thing that came to my mind. Did you not believe that you had a binge eating disorder? Say that fast 3 times.
I know, right?
Because you had a specific idea of what a binge eating disorder looked like, and yours looked different.
Yep. I had, and I was in social work for 28 years. So although I didn't specialize in eating disorders, I at least had some knowledge about eating disorders, but I would have, at the time when I really challenged the doctor, and I was like, no, I disagree with that diagnosis. And she's like, Angie, she's like, you, like, I literally ticked every single box. And I still was like, because I had a preconceived notion of what I thought it was. And so I had to go deeper and wider with my knowledge and go, oh my gosh, no, I really truly have that disorder. And I tick every box. And if you know anything about me, I don't like to be in any kind of a box. So it really bugs me.
No, but the fact that you took the time to challenge that belief, because it would have been very easy to just dismiss it and never address it. No, that's not what I think. It doesn't look like what I think it should look like, so that's not me, and just move on with life and continue in that pattern
Yep.
versus going, okay, let's research why don't I believe this? I think that
Yes.
takes so much courage and strength to question why am I fighting the diagnosis?
Yeah. Well, and it's, so many times, and I really thought about this especially on my way home after getting that diagnosis. I was like, we're taught to believe that whatever a doctor tells us is gospel. And so, because in my mind, I hadn't done the research yet, right? I was literally just driving home from that appointment. And I was like, and I just didn't, I was like, I don't accept that diagnosis. I just don't believe that diagnosis. And but now, when I still think it's okay to ask questions and challenge a doctor.
Mhm.
They're humans just like we are, and sometimes they get it wrong. Now, this doctor did not get it wrong. Let me just be clear about that. But sometimes they do, and it's okay to ask questions. And I encourage you to ask questions and advocate for yourself and say, I'm just not sure. I need to do some more research about this. Maybe I need a second opinion, whatever that looks like. But do your homework, get the knowledge, have conversations, and learn, and because you'll be surprised at how many preconceived notions or limiting beliefs or thoughts that we thought were really ingrained in us can change and are different just based on gaining more knowledge.
100% of the time. And I found on the stuff that I have questioned, and like again, as I said earlier, some of the stuff I still believe. I'm like, okay, I really do believe that. But some stuff I'm like, that's silly. I'm not going to choose to believe that anymore because it actually harms me to not change my belief. But it's the authority of who told us that to begin with. So we don't question doctors like, well, they went to medical school, they did this, they did that. But doctors are still a product of their experiences, what they've seen, how much extra knowledge they go out and get after, initial things. So I certainly not putting down doctors, don't misunderstand.
No.
But there's, like I said, they're still just people and they have their own beliefs.
Yes.
And they may not challenge their beliefs. So if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, they're going to diagnose that it's a duck.
Yep.
And we're just going to believe that even though we're looking at it, I'm like, that's clearly an elephant. Like that is not a duck. But
Right.
just because a doctor said it, we're like,
Yep.
oh, no, 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 I'm wrong. I'm wrong. He's right. It's a duck. We know it's an elephant.
Yeah.
So take the time. Who told you that to begin with? Why do they have authority? Like I said, I was in my mid 40s because I'd been told by leaders in church my whole life that you would go to hell. Well, I didn't question it because it was leaders in church. Of course they're going to know better. They're so much smarter than I am. And at mid 40s, I'm like, no, we're going to go back and I'm going to unpack that one myself. And
Yeah.
I didn't end up believing them. And it doesn't mean they have less authority, just means I get to choose myself.
Yes.
So, like with your situation, you get to do the research and then you still get to decide. But
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you accepted the diagnosis because again, that was hurting you. And so to
Yes.
know, to believe it, to have done the research to where you believe it, now you get to address it. And
Yep.
now it's a choice. I'm like, I am going to eat that whole entire cake just because I want to, but be honest with yourself that that's what you're
Yep.
doing.
Yep. Exactly. And that's yes. And oh, I could do a whole episode on because
I
it's
feel like we could go on for
ooh,
hours on this one.
right.
Neuroplasticity is like if I could go back to college right now, I
Mm,
would be a neurosurgeon because I love everything about the brain. I think it's the most fascinating tool that we have.
yeah. And I don't know what the statistic is, but I some for some reason like only like 6 to 10% of our brain do we actually tap into. It's a very small percentage, and I don't know exactly what the percentage is, but our brains are capable of. I mean, just think about all of the functions that it does on a daily basis without us being conscious and thinking about it, and our heart is beating, the blood is flowing, our liver and kidneys and pancreas and spleen and all of those things they're working, and we're not sitting here going, okay, spleen, do your thing. Okay, kidneys, rock and roll, we don't have to, our brain just does them. And now and it can heal itself. I think about even if you just have a small cut from working in the garden and your body heals itself, that's power, right?
Mhm.
And I really believe that we haven't tapped in to all the parts of our brain. And like, so I'm left-handed, and they say, if you're left-handed, you're right brain dominant, and if you're right-handed, you're left brain dominant. And so I try to find ways to target both sides, to get both sides of my brain engaged and have that neuroplasticity and stuff. And I'm no dementia expert, but there's a lot of research out there about brain neuroplasticity and dementia and stuff. And the more placid that your brain is, the less likelihood that you're going to get like a dementia or an Alzheimer's or, something like that, and have those memory issues. So just little things like I am dominant left hand, like, very dominant, but sometimes I'll brush my teeth with my right hand. Okay. It ain't pretty. And sometimes the toothbrush goes, I'm like, how did it get up on my nose? And, because it's this unnatural action but I know that I'm firing the other side of my brain, and I have Like I brush my teeth with my left hand. I don't even think about it. It just, my subconscious kicks in. It's like, no, but I got to think about it when I've switched hands. Sometimes I'll eat with my right hand and I've got to think about every motion. Otherwise, I'm going to be feeding my ear, because it just doesn't come naturally to come to my mouth. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just, thinking about those types of things and just doing little challenges and uh, just all kinds of different, like that Sudoku. I don't know how to do it, but I've read that that's one of the ways that you can challenge your mind and get that neuroplasticity and use all different parts of your brain to figure out that puzzle. And it's fascinating to me, all of the tools that are out there, that you can find something that you enjoy that can really challenge your brain to keep it placid. And because you might be sitting here thinking and go, I'm not sure about any beliefs that I, challenge or question or anything like that. But, there's always things that you can do. Um, Learn something. Like my nephew for Christmas 2 years ago, he was 17. No, I'm lying. He was 18. Anyhow, I said, Jake, what do you want for Christmas? And he said, I want to learn how to speak Russian. I said, what? I said, are you going to Russia? He goes, no, I just want to learn how to speak Russian. And so we got him this whole big thing on speaking Russian because he wanted to challenge his mind just to see if he could do it. And I'm like, you are not a normal kid. That was a challenging belief, but he challenged my belief on that. And he's like, I just want to challenge my brain to see if I can do it. And so in his spare time, he's learning Russian. I'm like, you do you, man, but what a great way to think about, if you've never knitted before, whatever, come up with those little things that you think would be enjoyable that can challenge your brain to keep it pliable and learning new skills and firing both sides.
I love that. Because picking an activity shows you can train your brain. So like, okay, if I can, I mean, I'm not going to use learning Russian. That sounds really super hard.
Oh,
And
no,
it's definitely not a love language,
no.
but, or what, one of the romantic languages or whatever. But I mean, learning an activity, if you can do that successfully, if you're right-handed and you can use your left hand, you can challenge things you were told as a kid. You can challenge things that make you feel bad. Your brain learns whatever you choose to want to teach it.
Yeah, yep. And I know one of the things that with neuroplasticity, it teaches us like that tenaciousness, of, you know, I'm not quite, I haven't quite gathered all of the information that I need to gather to really formulate an opinion or a decision to say, am I going to stay with this belief, or am I going to adopt a variation of that belief, or am I going to change my belief altogether? And so that tenacity of staying with it and that grit of just, saying, you know what, I've got to talk to one more person, or I've got to read one more book, or I've got to ask, five more questions, or whatever it is. Um, do I mean, I would encourage you to do the work and really sit back and think about whether it's associated with your life or whether it's associated with things in business. And like, I am so anti status quo because there's so much bad information out there for business owners. And they read all of this stuff and it's like, well, I've done all the things and I've ticked all their boxes. And I'm like, that wasn't designed for you. So challenge that, challenge and say, look, I bought your program, I did all your things, it didn't work. And don't be afraid to do that instead of walk away going, well, I must have done something wrong. you
You
know
just nailed it. Wrong. And I think that's the number one reason we don't challenge ourselves more. Is
yeah.
if I believed this, but I decide I believe that now, was I wrong before? Wrong, right and wrong shouldn't even come into it. It's
Oh,
knowledge, it's preference, there's so many things. But if we feel like, oh, well, if I change my mind, then that means I was wrong all these years. Why does it mean that? And again, so challenge that. I feel like it becomes a never ending. oh, well, I challenged this and now I do this and now I do this because I don't want to be wrong. It's like knocking down a domino, when
Yeah,
you've got them all set of it and the line just goes. But take the time. It's really fun. And if you don't change your mind, I've said it twice now. If you don't change your mind, it's because you really believe that.
yes,
Stand up for it. Be proud
right.
of that. Regardless of what it is, that's you, that's part of you and your authentic self. Be
Yep,
proud that you have a belief. And if nobody else believes it, okay,
right.
status quo. Bye.
Yeah. Yep. I had a conversation with a guy last night in regards to it was related to school stuff and he said that's really the hill you're going to die on and I said absolutely because what he was saying and wanted totally bumped up against my integrity and I said I will die on that hill. I cannot and I will not concede to that because it bumps up against my integrity. It doesn't feel right. It feels dishonest. It feels icky. It feels, it's just not right. And I will die on that hill, because it's such a deep seated integrity is such a deep seated. And I'm all about, even if the truth is yucky, you still tell the truth.
That's right.
Even if the truth hurts people's feelings, you still tell the truth. Even if the truth is like, if I did something wrong, it's the truth. You still say, I did something wrong because that's the truth. You don't try to make excuses. You don't try to sugarcoat it or flip it into, finesse it into something different. Call it what it is. It's like, no, I made a mistake and I need to be honest about that. Period. Like just say it. Just say exactly what it is. And so, and he was like, wow. He's like, okay. And so now he got a little bit better of an idea that because I was not going to change my mind and he was not going to change my mind about it. And so when you feel that strongly about something, that is a deep seated belief that nobody's ever going to change, like me and my Christianity. And I know you, Anne, with your Christianity and your faith, no one is going to shake us out of that. Those are deep seated, rooted beliefs that we have, that we honor, and that we desire, and that we choose. And no one's going to talk us out of that those are hills that we're going to die on, because that's how much we believe in it. And if you have those are great. There's nothing wrong with that. We're not saying you have to go out and everything that you thought was true and try to change it. We're not saying that at all. But if there's anything that you might be questioning and it's like, I wonder why I think that way, or wonder why they think that way, you know just ask some questions, engage in conversation and learn.
I wish we would teach young kids that. We seem to have this habit of if it's a if it's a topic that not everybody agrees with, just keep quiet instead of teaching people, and you need to start young. Hey, I don't think what you think, but I want to hear why you think it. If we taught that communication skill,
Yep.
the next generation would grow up so differently because we have so much divisiveness and polarity right now because we were taught don't talk about money, don't talk about religion, don't talk about politics. Well, why not?
Right.
I, you don't have to think the way I think for me to like you. I may not
Right.
change your mind and you may not change my mind, but when we set the standard, and I don't know who decided it, that, oh, well, you just don't talk about those things. Who decided that? And why do we have to believe that? Yes, talk about them. Don't be mean. Don't be any of those things,
Right.
but talk about them. If we don't start having the hard conversations about why we believe what we believe, we're
Yep.
going to continue on a path. There is I have a goal in life. I have two. One, I want to learn how to fly a helicopter. Don't ask me why. Don't want to fly a plane. I want to fly a helicopter. And two, I want to end the divisiveness in the world. You know how they say, make what's your big statement that is bigger than you can ever achieve by yourself? That's mine. I want to end all of the divisiveness in the world. I want people to be able to communicate. We don't have to agree to get along.
Yes.
But when we stay with this chasm between us and we allow one side or another to tell us if you go to the other side, you're wrong, we're letting people make choices for us. And we're in trouble.
Yeah.
We're in trouble as individuals, we're in trouble as communities, we're in trouble as a country, we're in
Yes.
trouble as a world because of that. Challenge your beliefs. You don't
Yes.
have to change the other person's mind. They don't have to change yours. Have the conversations. Why do you believe what you believe? And then respect them for it. Whether you
Right.
agree or not shouldn't even come into the equation. It's just like, oh, that's really interesting. I still think what I think, but now I know you better.
Yes. And just because you're asking questions does it's not confrontational. Now some people will take that as confrontational, and I've had those conversations, and it's like I'm seeking to understand. This isn't a confrontation. Just I need to understand more because what you're saying really doesn't make sense to me right now. So I need more information. I'm not confronting you. But I think so many times people get defensive and so they automatically take it as a confrontation, and I'm not saying that I'm right and you're wrong or you're right and I'm wrong. It's not about right and wrong. It's about seeking to understand. And just because you're asking questions, and if someone takes it as a confrontation, just address it and say, look, I'm not being confrontational here. I'm trying to hear your side of it, and I'm just not understanding what you're saying. So I either need you to rephrase it or give me more information or something because it's not computing in here. And it could be because it's bumping up against one of my beliefs, and my brain's having a hard time with that neuroplasticity trying to absorb it. But that's why it's super important to go deeper and wider and get that information so that your brain can absorb it and circumvent that belief that you have and say, look, I'm seeking to understand, I'm seeking to know more. I'm not challenging you. And I think part of our divisiveness is when we ask questions and it's like, oh, they're challenging me, and oh, don't talk to her because she's confrontational. And it's like, no.
And how many times is it's easier to say, oh, you're challenging me, than go, do I even know what I believe? Or am I
Right.
just regurgitating what I've been told and I really don't have an opinion or an understanding,
Yep.
but I'm not going to admit that. So I'm going to get defensive and flip the table on the other person and make it be their fault. Oh, well, you challenged me. So I feel like that's a whole nother
I know,
topic
right? We could
heading
go
into
down that.
communication. So if we have not learned anything in this episode, is that neuroplasticity affects everything. It affects
Yeah.
every facet of our lives, our being, our well-being. Like it's just so, so, so critical that we continue to learn and ask questions and, know better, do better, all those things.
Yeah. And I'll give one more little piece of nugget here that I practice because much like Anne, I'm a lifelong learner and I'm continuously so like my I start the day every single day like this. I wake up in gratitude, I go pee, and then I learn something. That's how I start every single day, and in that order. Um, and oh my gosh, my brain just totally flaked out on I'm oh, it was a really good point too, I'm telling you.
I'm so sad. I don't know what I'm going to do until I hear the rest of the story.
Oh man, it is driving me crazy. Um oh, I was going to talk about, but sometimes I have absorbed so much information about a specific thing that I actually can get decision fatigue. And so by the end of the day, like my husband will say, "What do you want for supper?" And I'm like, "What? Please don't make me make a decision." But then and that's okay, and so sometimes we absorb so much information, so it's okay to have that decision fatigue, or it's like, okay, my brain's at capacity for the day, I can't take in anything more, just have a rest. and just acknowledging that and say, it's okay. And you don't feel like you have to just continuously, like your brain deserves to rest too, as much as it deserves to have that neuroplasticity, is my point.
I totally agree and love that. I am a fast decision maker. I make lots of decisions throughout the day. And when I have an opinion, I have a really strong opinion. So when I tell you I don't care, I really truly don't care. Like chicken, fish,
Yeah.
I really don't care. But
Right.
if I want chicken, by damn, we're gonna have chicken because that's what I really, really want. So
Exactly.
those those times are usually few and far between. Most of the time, I just I have that whatever. I can go either way. But when I decide I have an opinion or I have a belief or I'm
Yeah.
like, you're not changing my mind.
Yeah.
We are having chicken tonight.
The heels are dug in.
That's right.
I
You
love
can go do
that.
whatever you want to do. I'm eating chicken.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah,
I
that's
like that
beautiful.
though. Well, this has been fun.
Yes. Oh, such a great topic. I mean, we could talk about this forever, but it's just one of those things. And I love that you can apply it to every facet of your life. It's things that you can talk to your friends and family about, and have these open conversations, and you'll be surprised at how much it will strengthen your relationships too. By going deeper and wider and asking questions, you're really going to strengthen relationships by getting to know people on just so much more of a deeper connection level.
Well, and start with yourself. I mean, I love all of that about, getting to know other people and stuff, but start with yourself.
Good.
If you're carrying something that is not adding value to your life, figure out why you continue to carry it. Because there's something there and just spend the time. And sometimes you might realize I'm carrying it because I'm just too lazy to let it go. Well, that's easy.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
help yourself first because as you help yourself first, you can help others in so, so many different ways.
Yes. Love that. Just like in the airplane, you put your own oxygen mask on first, then you put it on the next person, right?
That's exactly right.
And
Until you do the work, you're not any good to anybody else.
yeah, love that. Love
Well,
that.
Angie, you are the sparkle in my day, as always.
Oh, you are just so sweet. Well, Ann, I just appreciated your knowledge today because honestly, listeners, this is where Ann shines. Like her rewriting your story with grace is just such a powerful tool. And it can be a great start to your increasing the neuroplasticity of your own brain by just working with Ann and really getting to see what that neuroplasticity can look like with your own story. So I highly recommend that you connect with Ann and learn more about that.
Thank you so much for the shout out. I love that. And
You're
it's not
so
something I would do for myself, so I really appreciate it.
Oh, all right. Until next time, this is Ann and Angie, and next time Lori will be with us. The dynamic trio will be back together again, but we will talk to you soon.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Unapologetically Unstoppable Women podcast. If today's conversation fired you up, inspired you, or made you laugh out loud, don't forget to hit subscribe and share this episode with another unstoppable woman in your life. Remember, you don't have to apologize for your ambition, and you never have to shrink to fit someone else's expectations. Keep showing up, keep breaking barriers, and keep living life on your own terms. Until next time, stay unapologetic, stay unstoppable.